The FIA stewards have ruled that Alpine's protest over Haas's post-race dispute in Austin is not admissible, but the French manufacturers have requested a right of review over the case. In this video, I will bring you the news in detail. Make sure you stick with me till the end of the video so you don't miss any part of the gist. Without any further delay, let's get into it. Alonso was hit with a massive post-race penalty, and no further action was taken against Red Bull. On Sunday night in the United States, Haas lodged a protest on the grounds that Alonso and Sergio Perez's cars were in an unsafe condition after separate incidents for those drivers. Perez was not sanctioned, but Alonso was given a 30-second post-race penalty in Austin as his car was not deemed to be in a safe condition after he had collided with Lance Stroll. The two-time champion was therefore demoted from 7th to 15th. Stewards ruling on Haas protest against Alpine. During the hearing on the protest lodged against Alpine, Haas has asserted that the number 14 car was unsafe and noted that their car had been given the black and orange flag on 3 other occasions this year for situations involving their car being in an unsafe condition. Alpine submitted that the mirror came off through no fault of their driver or team and was due to the collision caused by Lance Stroll. The team also submitted that at only one time during the race, after the mirror fell off, was their car behind Alonso, and that the race engineer was warning the driver of the gap to that car. Also, Alpine stated that there was a precedent in Suzuka in 2019 where the cars of Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc were allowed to continue with mirror problems. The FIA's technical delegate, Mr. Joe Bauer, submitted that the flapping mirror was dangerous and it could come loose and hit another driver, causing injury. Therefore, Alonso's car was unsafe. He further stated that a car needs 2 mirrors and that in his opinion, which the stewards accepted as an expert opinion, the car was unsafe to be driven with a mirror missing. The stewards determined that the protest was upheld as they did not regard the Suzuka incident from 2019 as a precedent. According to Article 3.2 of the sporting regulations, a car must be safe throughout a race. In this case, Alonso's car was not. The team felt this was unfair, as Magnussen had been called into the pits multiple times during 2022 after contact left him with a broken front wing end plate, while both Alonso and Perez were not given the instruction during the race in Austin. After declaring the protests were admissible, the stewards called representatives from Alpine and Red Bull. The protest against Red Bull was thrown out, and no further action was taken against the team and Perez, who kept his 4th place. The protest against Alpine was, on the contrary, upheld by the stewards, who imposed a 10-second stop-and-go penalty on Alonso, which translated into a 30-second time penalty post-race. This drops the Spaniard from P7 to P15, promoting Vettel to P7, Magnussen to P8, Tsunoda to P9, and Ocon to P10. During the Red Bull hearing, Joe Bauer explained that Red Bull contacted him during the race and sent detailed photos of the front wing. Mr. Bauer determined during the race that the car was not in an unsafe condition. Having considered the evidence provided, the stewards determined that the protest against Red Bull was dismissed. Alpine then disputed Haas's protest on the grounds that they had been lodged too late, 24 minutes past the specified deadline. But the FIA concluded in Mexico City that there is no ability or right for any party to protest a decision of the stewards, nor against a summons to a hearing. The FIA observed that the appropriate course of action for Alpine, if it disagreed with the decision of the stewards, would have been to appeal the FIA International Court of Appeal, and to do that, it would have had to have given notice of intention to appeal to the stewards within 1 hour of the decision, as prescribed in the FIA International Sporting Code and the FIA Judicial and Disciplinary Rules. In response, Alpine have requested right of review of the stewards' decision, as they are permitted to do, providing it is within 14 days of the end of the competition in question, to determine if a significant and relevant new element has been discovered, which was not available to BWT Alpine at the time of the decision. That hearing took place at 8:45 local time in Mexico City on Thursday, with representatives of Haas and Alpine summoned. Both teams now await a decision from the stewards. Next up, Fernando Alonso warns F1 will face a huge problem if the Austin penalty isn't removed. Fernando Alonso has stated he is very confident his P7 finish at the United States Grand Prix will be reinstated, but has warned that F1 will face a huge problem if it isn't. Following the 10-second stop-and-go penalty that Alonso Alonso was hit with after the race, which dropped him out of the points. Alonso spoke ahead of this weekend's F1 Mexico Grand Prix. He said, "Let's wait until we have the outcome today." He made it clear that he was obviously very disappointed and that it was a roller coaster of emotions for him on Sunday. They started at the back, then P6. Then they had the accident, last again, and then finished P7. Later in the evening, they were out of the points, so it was up and down all day long. Alonso said that he is very optimistic that they will keep 7th place. He further stated that the FIA has been very transparent with them this year. Alonso also thinks that the new leadership with Mohammed bin Salman are doing things a little bit differently than in the past, so he tends to have he believes, or rather thinks, that there are a couple of things that are very clear that were made wrong from their side. So as he said, he is very confident that he will be awarded P7 again in Austin, and if he is not P7 at the end, he stated that he is sure they will explain why, and it will then be clearly seen. So he's very relaxed about that. Explaining why Alpine decided to protest, Alonso said that they protested this basically because it was out of time, and there were a couple of things that the FIA was not showing him, the black and orange flag, so they felt that the car was safe to keep driving. The car went to park firm, past all the scrutineering, and green lights in park firm, and then the protest arrived too late. So between all, Alonso thinks that there is no doubt that this was not the right decision to take, and if this is the right decision to take, it will open a huge problem for the future in F1. He further stated that he thinks 50, 60, 70% of the cars will have to retire when they have an aerodynamic device that is not properly fixed because it's going to be unsafe for the car. If 20 minutes too late is okay to protest, is 1 month too late? Is 1 hour too late? Is 10 years too late? When is too late? So as Alonso said, this is a very important day for their sport. He said he doesn't care about the 7th, that he's not fighting for the world championship, but if this goes ahead, he thinks they don't want to open that box. Wrapping it up, let's talk about the claim that Fernando Alonso is the best in the world right now. Alpine CEO Laurent Rossi believes Fernando Alonso is still the best driver in the world, even with the Spaniard set to leave the team at the end of the season. The 41-year-old has opted to leave the French outfit in favor of a move to Aston Martin, suggesting that the British-based team's eagerness to sign him made him realize how little love he'd been receiving from Alpine. Rossi admits maybe he and the team could have done more to make Alonso feel appreciated, but he made it clear his opinion of the Spaniard hasn't changed, despite his decision to try his luck elsewhere. What reasons are behind Alonso's departure? Alonso will replace a retiring Sebastian Vettel at Aston Martin, while Alpine are expected to announce the signing of Pierre Gasly after Oscar Piastri, the team's first choice to replace the Spaniard, decided to leave for McLaren. Rossi explained that Alpine's decision not to bring Alonso back was made with an eye on the future. Rossi said that Fernando may not have long left, although he could be wrong because he is exceptional. It's too big of a gamble for a whole organization. He stated that they discussed it a lot with Otmar, who was also very important in making the decision, and because of the academy and the investments they made in that part of Alpine's future, it was not convenient to offer him more than 2 years. That concludes today's video. If you found the video helpful, please do consider giving us a thumbs up, and don't forget to share the video with your friends and family. See you next time.